Yeah, yeah.
Everyone please rise. Robert's going to lead us in prayer.
Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to Thee thanking Thee for this another beautiful day You have given us in this life. We thank Thee for Your wonderful and great love and special love of Your divine Son. And Heavenly Father, as we go through this meeting and conduct business of this city, we ask Thee to look over and guide, guard, use us, and direct our minds, and that we do things according to Your divine will. And Heavenly Father, we ask special prayer because we have many in our city that are having some trying times right now, and we ask Thee to be with Brother, our Mike Henry, and look over him and help him gain his much needed strength. And Heavenly Father, we ask Thee to use each and every one of us as You can. This we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Everyone face the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Texas flag.
On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I'd like to welcome everyone here to our special call meeting. Ms. May, you can confirm that let the record state that all councilmen are present.
Yes, sir.
Item 3 is public comments. I didn't get anybody in the paper. Does anybody have a public comment? Anybody want to speak? Item 4, this is under discussion and action. Discuss and consider to take action on resolution number 2202-0726-01, a resolution of the City of Cleveland designating persons authorized to sign city-related bank accounts. Ms. May, you want this that? That's taking Angela off and putting you on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Council have any discussions on that? I'm assuming at that time we'll put Marilyn on too?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And get it to where I don't have to be here every time. Okay. Any discussion by council? All those in favor?
Need a motion?
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay. Yeah. You second it?
Yes.
Okay. Fred made the motion, Ed seconded. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Against, same sign. 5, discuss. Consider and take action on resolution number 2202-0726-02, a resolution of the City of Cleveland, Texas, authorizing the submission of an application to the Texas General Land Office, usually known as GLO, for Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery, CDBG-DR program, and authorizing the mayor to act as the city's executive officer and authorized representative in all matters pertaining to the city's participation in the CDBG-DR program. How much is this grant? Okay. Got it.
How much?
I'm looking. Yes, sir.
Up to 1 million.
$1,010,000.
Yeah, up to 1 million with a 1% match.
And we matched 10,000.
Yeah, 2,000.
Right.
It's $1 million grant.
I would like to go ahead and, if none of the questions, to go ahead and make the motion to approve the resolution and authorize the submission as stated.
I second that.
Marilyn made the motion. Eddie seconded it. Any other discussion by council?
Got a question.
Go ahead.
Does this mean that how we would go about obtaining this grant, getting somebody to write it, or grant writer, or is this another issue, another way we get this funds?
turned over, Leslie, to, I saw.
Public management,
Yes.
he was taking care of the grant writing. And Strand is the one that's gonna,
Trent is an engineer.
yeah. That's his-
Is he not the grant?
This is Denoga, yes. Strand is the one who's working with public management to come up with a
Okay, so
plan.
public management is handling the grant.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Answer my question.
Okay. Any other discussion? Mary made the motion, Eddie seconded it, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. All those in favor, raise their right hand. Same sign, they're against. Item 6 is discuss and consider and take action on ordinance number 1300-220726-01, an ordinance of the city of Cleveland, Texas, or city declining to approve the change in rate requested in Energy Texas Incorporated, ETL Company, a statement of intent filed with the city on July 1st, 2022, and finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance was considered was open and public and in accordance with Texas law. Brian, you want to hit us with anything on that, or Brian Garcia is here with the interview.
Thank you all for letting me come here today. So this rate case filing was, as the mayor said, made on July 1st. We filed it with y'all, and the idea is just that typically the PUCT, they've got their legal team that goes and they try these cases, and they kind of go through a fine-tooth comb, and the idea is that when all the cities reject it, basically they're saying, yes, we're deferring to PUCT to go ahead and try the case. And that's all we're asking. The rate case itself, I mean, there's plenty that we can go through. Are there any questions about the case itself, or just the process?
Where does it actually end up, Brian? I mean, I know we've done this every, well, it seems like every year. I don't know if it's every year, but.
Yeah. It ends up being tried by the PUCT staff, and they go through, and I mean, there are binders and binders of paperwork. Basically, every penny that we spend, they verify to make sure that it's above board and according to, the rules of disallowance and things like that. And they push stuff back and saying, you can't charge this back to ratepayers. Okay, this is okay. So they try the whole thing, and basically by denying it, y'all are pushing it to them to go ahead and go through that process.
Council, have any questions of Brian?
No, sir. With that said, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we go forward and take action on this,
What we're actually saying is we're declining the increase.
Correct.
Okay. Marilyn made the motion.
Second.
Carolyn, okay. Any other discussion by council?
Can I make it clear that we're declining this?
We're declining it, yes. And I think Brian knows. Perfect. All those in favor, raise their right hand. Against, the same sign. Okay, item 7. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Item 7, discussion on the status of city projects. Robert, do you want to do that, or has everyone looked at what he put down, or what we?
Okay. On the street paving, I mean, I have that one, I mean, from what I've gathered, have on it, that, which I'm gonna see if y'all have any questions on these things, and then, we have Robert here, and then some of the, Leslie as well, that knows some of this information, but that one's complete. The fire station, we know what's going on there in Grand Oaks. That was being built right now. The proposed elevated water tower.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Can we have a conversation about this fire station?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to have an update on the schedule. Are we on schedule, behind, or ahead?
Okay.
Do you have an answer?
No, sir, I do not have their schedule on that one, no, sir.
Can Do we have anybody in the city that would know that, or we'll go in and check?
It would be Sean.
Sean.
He's not
Sean would know.
Sean knows.
We also had a change order that came in for about $8,900, almost $9,000. Can the council be told what that was about?
I don't have
What was
it. You have it?
where is
You know,
the
on the
8,000?
street stuff, Fred?
No, this is on the fire
Oh, on the
station.
fire station, yeah.
What they did, they write a contract for the amount of money, and then they have a contingency
Yeah.
of $150,000, which allows the contractor to move forward. You don't have to wait for council to approve it. But because it was extra, I think council should be explaining to them what that is, so they'll keep up with what's going on. We've approved it. We're getting, already been paid, I think, or at least it's that.
Yeah, I think it was one council meetings that was it less than?
I'm trying to figure out what the 8,000 is. Where did you see that?
$8,970, I'm guessing up to $70, but
Daryl, can you get Sean? Can you get Sean?
I didn't know vacation.
He's on vacation.
Yeah. Leslie, you don't show him?
I'm trying to find where did you see those 8,000, sir?
8,900.
But where did you see it? Where was it? Where did you see it? On the packet?
It was Angela's report. She said this is not a change order, blah, blah, blah.
I remember.
It falls under the contingency.
We don't get it.
But I think council needs to know where we spend our money. And it may be very legit. I'm not questioning the legitimacy of it. I'm questioning that we know what it was. You know, we do this all the time. We get projects, we get contractors and engineers involved, and we never know, except at the end, here's the money, and sometimes we don't get what we paid for. Good example is the Sidewalk project, phase one.
So we have this as an agenda item, or another meeting, we can have Sean here and then he can answer.
That's why I asked for this about 3 weeks ago, another meeting, because it went on the agenda. And then last council meeting, I specifically asked if these 4 items, there's more than 4 here, but yeah, we can do it later. It's not gonna change anything. We've already probably approved it, it's been spent. It's just one of those contentions that I think city council needs to be more aware of what we're doing.
Sure, we'll go right to this
Summary
person.
of capital, and then it gives you a description of each one.
Want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
I will research on that and see, get back to you on that.
Okay. And then, and I'm gonna ask Robert some of these questions too on the proposed elevator, water tower number 3. The status on that one, I mean, I've got a couple notes in my office on those, but Robert knows specifically on.
Talked to Holly yesterday, basically financially, on the financial side of it, they're about 65% at the project funding. Project-wise, we're about 85%. We're pushing really hard right now to get that tank filled, sanitized, that key samples pulled right now. We're gonna try to do that tomorrow. We're running a little bit behind on the splash pad for the overflow of the tank. So once we get that done, get those samples full, we're hoping to have that tank ready to go for school to start on August 10th. Yeah, August 10th. But right now, we're going to have to control that tank manually until we get the butterfly valve back in, because it was back ordered. It was ordered in actual March, and it's been back ordered 3 times since then. So the delivery date as of right now is August the 17th for that control valve. And the actual project itself, to be fully completed, is November the 31st. substantial will be by the 31st of this month.
Is this supplying the water to the elementary schools?
Yes, sir, north side.
They're going back to school August the 10th.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So will they have water?
We're pushing hard for it.
So we don't know right now?
We don't quite know yet. Right now, we're saying yes. We're going to do everything we can to get them water. I already know about Gerald, about the possibility of low water pressure. And then the fire marshal is aware, Sean, about low water pressure, so they're aware of having a 24-hour shift of watching fire protection lines due to the lack of water pressure.
We can buy some water hose, Kelly Jenkins will do it.
Yeah, sure, yeah. As of right now, it's going really well, just a little bitty hiccup in the butterfly valve. But other than that, we're doing good on that.
Well, this is what I was bringing up yesterday, Lindsay, is that apparently it came out under the anticipated 2.7 million and the contract for 2,040,000. So now we're talking about we have to put in a 12-inch line.
12-inch line.
So our estimate on that was an estimate, but what was it? Right around 500-something thousand. And then engineering was some above that. So my question is, are we still under this estimated 2.7 million?
And according to the projects that we have, it shows that it's 12-inch water line is $496,000.
Okay, and then you add that engineering to it, right around 555.
It's not showing the engineering on this form, so
But that's gonna
I
bring
don't
it.
know if that's included in that or not.
I saw something somewhere, and I think that brings it to about 5.
When Holly gave us an estimate, like a couple of months ago, she's estimated 460,000 for that 12-inch.
For engineering?
No, for everything.
Okay.
But right now, since, inflation is taking place, so that's why I only estimated, we have 396,000 of bond money, and then I'm estimating that we're gonna need an additional 100,000 to complete that project. But that's an estimate, because I don't know what they're gonna come back with.
Did y'all do the deals on the engineering?
We did on this particular one,
We did what, Fred? What did you say?
on this engineer that doing the water well. Help me out here, what's her name, last name, you just said it,
Holly,
engineer.
She's not.
The contractor. Anyway, we feel like it'd be foolish to try to change engineers in the middle of this stream. So we agreed in our meeting to go ahead and
Yeah.
make them continue this project. Stream, right.
Yes, great.
What's cheap?
Robert, what we're gonna do next?
Okay.
The rehabilitation of the
Yeah, Robert.
one time city hall
Yes, sir. Mr. Robert Meadows, you want to give an update on the rehabilitation of the water tank?
Water tanks. Both of them are completed. Both of them, pretty much say both of them are 95% completion. We got to do a final walkthrough of both of them. Me and Andrew with Dome Engineering, we're going to have to find them. And what we're going to expect is the electrical work, which I've already had to do a fix on that because it was quite ugly at ESP #1. They kind of did up the ladder and did a 45 across, like 10 foot. It looked really like crap, honestly. So they're going to clean that up, and that, pretty much we're going to go over painting, make sure the electricians, where they hook their connectors up to, the paint they knocked off, we're going to go back and touch up all that stuff. So we're kind of like a final walkthrough of both those, and then once
they're back virtually 95%.
yeah, they're already back online, doing really good. So, yeah, it's just kind of like a final walkthrough.
Several years ago, I'd asked that we just paint them, just to make them look good for the city, and that's when I found out that there's more to it. You gotta go inside, check all your wells, leaks, so there's more to it.
Yes, sir.
At that time, this is 3 or 4 years ago, I was quoted, you're looking at more around $1,000 for each one.
Yeah.
And this is coming up a lot higher. Can you explain why it's so much higher?
Well, I can, the old original tower, 37 over here, for one, both tanks had lead paint. That jacked the price up quite a bit of those, so you can see that with those, barriers up to sandblast them. So of course, that's an environmental thing, so environmental automatically jump the price on that, they gotta do testing afterwards, they gotta do soil testing afterwards, to make sure all that lead is out and that stuff. Inside internally on this one, it had a lot of pivots in it, from, this age. They did a lot of those things, and the hatch, the vent on top, the actual top was collapsed. So they had to go in there and completely restructure that dome, or we call it witch's hat. And then update all the ladder, the fall hazards, railing, the old man waves are too small, they had to bring those up to an actual 24 or 30, but bring those up to compliance. The old ladder system on that one was held by 2 bolts with a wire, and it's the old original, the actual ladder would go around the tank.
Really?
The original, yes, sir. So they had to go re-support that, redo that completely. So it wasn't just a basic go in there, sandblast, and repaint it. Very
Okay, well, that explains it, thank you.
Yeah.
Does that get us good for another, what, 20 years?
I believe 20 years, yes, sir. It's a 20-year job.
Thank you, Robert.
Yes, sir.
Robert, do you think the mayor ought to inspect that with you?
I would love to come up there. I got the harness and everything.
Robert, I climbed that when I was in high school. I did go around that thing.
Yeah, right before they done it, I climbed it to look at it, and I got up there, and the 2 bolts they were holding, the one was broke.
But that was
The
on
arm
there.
started, so I kind of slowed.
I volunteer, Rachel. I'll do it.
Bless your heart.
For free.
You-
It's terrible.
And we'll expect it in 20 years. Yeah, well, Fred.
Okay, ready? Okay, airport sign?
Airport runs back.
Mayor,
Yes.
Yes.
before we go to the airport, can we go back to number 1, the street paving? And I see that you said it was completed, and I know there were some streets completed, but we had a list of streets to be paved. So was it done in sections, or just a few done, or what? Remember we had
Are
a
you
list
talking
of
about the
streets?
stuff that was on the 2 streets?
Yes, I mean, it just says street paving, so, but on the little,
No, Robert, we did all reworking that water and sewer on those streets, and then we fixed it, because I know it tore up some of that, didn't it?
Lamar Street, was a complete, sewer line we had, replaced this entire sewer line, and, living at Alfred was water on both the 800 block and 900 block. We did have an incident on living at Alfred where one of their pipes joints, busted, and we sent that actually off to Colburn's, and they sent that pipe off to the lab, or whoever they run. To get it seen, they think that pipe is defective. It was just a weird crack the way that it was, so that was the only incident they cut, kind of did a cut out, fix that, little section and stuff. But other than that, everything's been replaced, some of the sewer lines, and all the laterals were replaced. We did have one pickup at one residence that we had some issues about, but we took care of that very quickly. But other than that, good job.
If you remember,
and that was so that our new council member know that this was a project that was already in place and going on. Because she don't know.
and originally that was $1 million grant, and we had so many streets listed that we could do it for. Then we had to come back and put money in for engineering, so it cut some of those streets out.
It had to take some to do that. Lenny Alford, and what was it, Lamar? Robert?
Yeah, Lamar. Didn't have, I know I'm not saying that first.
Yeah, you are.
Miss Alford, this is it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You had a question from you. Marilyn, can we go on to,
I'm sorry, sir.
can we go on to
Oh, yeah.
the runway
I
or
said
the
thank you.
airport?
Thank you.
Okay, the airport sign, if y'all haven't been out there, there is a new gateway sign there at the airport installed out front, so that's completed. But as far as some of this other stuff, the lighting and stuff, that's not on this, but I mean, that's still not completed.
That's strictly though for the sign.
Yes, sir.
Is that sign lit up at night?
Yes,
It does have a light.
yes. Any questions? Downtown
Can you
side,
bring people up to date on our grant?
sir.
Can you bring us up to date on the grant?
Yes, sir. Like I say, I was phone conversation with, TxDOT Aviation, Steve Hart, Friday afternoon. KSA sent the asphalt and the runway lighting out for bid. They received one bid, and that bidder didn't come in, it wasn't adequate, so they kicked that one bidder out, and it's gonna go out for another rebid. Steve Hart with TxDOT Aviation is getting with KSA to see what they need to do. He's not certain for as any redesigning or anything, they're not certain what they have to do yet, but he is gonna put it out for rebid, but it doesn't affect the money's still available, so.
Is there a timeline on that?
He didn't have one, no, sir, because he don't know what KSA is gonna have to do. He said he'd get back to me once he talked to them and figure out, I was on the phone with him for an hour Friday.
I talked to the engineer, his name's Danny Hayes, and he told me that when we got bid the guy, part of the problem was somebody who does the electrical lighting part doesn't really do the asphalt. So you're really looking at two subcontractors. And that was kind of hard, I guess. I don't know why a contractor can't get those two things together and do it. But anyway, he said that they weren't, the contractor who gave the bid wasn't disqualified. The mistake was that they didn't respond properly or quickly or didn't respond at all, I don't know. So I emphasized to him, we were without any lights at night. We're totally dark. I mean, I don't think we're gonna have to redraw anything, but I encouraged him to hurry and get it out and get more bidders too, so we can do it. But right now, our runway is dark.
Well, there's another issue for us, the asphalt. That is TxDOT Aviation spec on the asphalt, it's not like the highways, and they require a lot more. And the contractor was having a hard time getting the asphalt they needed, couldn't find anybody to supply what they needed. And I asked him how many tons or yards they needed for that project, he didn't have that amount. But he said, but that's part of the problem too, is getting that mixture of what they need of asphalt, and having find somebody to supply it. So they gotta try to find that. I told him I would be more than welcome and help them with, Vulcan, and see if maybe we could get that, whatever they needed, once they figure out who's gonna bid it or have. So he said he'd let me know on that as well.
So they've come before us, I want to say 4 or 5 months ago, probably maybe 6 months ago, said if we spent $20-something thousand, they'd get every other light fixed. I was under the assumption that we had lights, but we don't have lights.
That's going back in council meeting a few months back, because I was
3 or 4 months ago.
I was in the room as well. And yes, there was a gentleman over there, and I think Clay was here, but there was a gentleman from Kingwood that he knew someone in San Antonio that would come down here and do every other light. Well, from what I found out and dug into, he came down, worked here for 2 days, he ordered some lights, not the lights you need for the runway, but they said they can use them for the taxiway. He worked here two days, and he was paid $22,000. We still don't have lights. He said we had a lot more issues with the wiring than they expected. So there's going to be more. So, but anyway.
That's a real problem.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, Clay Deans runs that airport for us. He's no different than Robert and everybody else that works for us. He should have called and said they didn't fix those lights. Somebody should have known that they didn't fix those lights. I set up and told Ernest Bells that we had lights.
We've known that we haven't had lights.
But Carolyn, you remember, you voted on it.
Oh, I
We
guess
voted
she's-
that $23,000 to get every other light fixed.
I'm on the
But
air.
they didn't do it.
Yeah.
But did they tell you that they weren't working?
Yes, and when we had our airport board meeting, yes. they
Why didn't
told-
y'all call the city? Why didn't somebody call the city and say, hey, we don't have any lights anymore? Why
The
would
city
we
was
pay
here
him
at that
$22,000?
meeting.
Why would we pay him $22,000 for nothing?
That's something that Bobby did. That's something that Bobby did.
No, it wasn't Bobby. Wasn't Bobby, it
Go
was,
back on your records.
I know who it was. Anyhow, we need to find out
It was that,
why.
it was that far, it was that long ago that it happened. Because it was gonna be a temporary fix till we could get the other stuff done. And
Carol, but
Next
you're
on
wrong
aviation is
on
the
when it
problem.
happened, what happened though, because I called up and asked them and they said they had it fixed.
You called up and asked.
The airport guy,
Clay Dean.
yes. He said, the guy's out there, they're gonna fix it. I called Stacy, I asked him, he said they were fixed. He said he paid them.
They've not been there.
He paid them. He signed the check that paid him $22,000. So we don't know, one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing, and we don't have lights still. But we're trying to look into that, try to find out where that money actually went. 2 days.
That should be on the minutes. I mean, if that was the case and he's signed off, we should have known whether or not he signed off.
Well, I don't know why Clay didn't call and say, hey, we don't have lights. The guy worked a couple of days, so it stinks, but anyhow. I thought we had lights, and I told people we had lights. And then Robert, the only reason I knew that better, because Robert told me the other day, we don't have lights. We'll find out. We'll,
I have a meeting tomorrow with Bob Barker and Clay Dean to dig deeper into this.
So somebody dropped the ball then.
At 10, I'm supposed to meet them at like 10:30, so. Next one. Downtown sidewalk phase 2, that will be,
Next one, sports park lighting.
Number 6?
Sports park,
the lighting they did for
sports
the,
park,
on that FEMA paid us to get the lights back up on the sports park.
number 6.
Well, it's been completed. I don't know if there's any other discussion about that.
yeah, different paper.
Unless we have
Hang
made,
on,
made
let me
them
go back over here.
do with that.
Okay, yeah, that's completed.
It's completed.
These are notes that Bobby did called a transition when he left as city manager. These is what was passed on to the next guy to follow up. So that means everything we're talking about is 7 months old. And so, yes, I understand this has been completed.
Yeah, we accepted it for a
I
couple
think
months.
it's interesting to see that in his notes, it said that that park was for almost $2 million, and apparently, we still owe about $1 million on our debt on that. So we're about halfway through. It's been open since 2012, so we've been open 10 years. So that kind of gives us an idea of where we are on the debt on that.
Splash pad, that's been completed. I think they're waiting on a automatic, they're doing it manual right now. It's not operating every day, they do it certain times and days, correct?
Turning on at 10, turning off at 6.
Yeah, but they have to do it manual, but they're waiting on a
Control us.
control that where it automatically comes, when somebody's out there, it just comes on, and then when nobody's there, it goes off, shuts itself off. So, but it's pretty much completed.
Is that on the contractor's responsibility, or is that the city's?
Contract.
The contract.
Okay. Is he on top of it?
Whenever I was overseeing it, once they put Cody into to that park stuff, I passed it on to him, but last time I heard him talk about it, they ordered it and waited for it to come in to install it. They also have to add a salt pump to that, control, box down the ground that's holding water, and I think what happened was it filled up with water and shorted it out.
But he's taking care of that.
But that's under their maintenance, something they missed, and should have.
It's a splash pad, and they ain't got it waterproof. I know.
I would just, I supplied it with water.
Thank you, Ron.
Depot. That kind of turned out to be a BRW project, moved over by Stanfield Park and by the Civic Center. I met with Freddie Faulkner yesterday, because he was back in town working, so he came by my office yesterday morning.
Who is Freddie?
Freddie Faulkner,
Mover?
House.
Okay, I didn't hear the last name.
yes, sir. And he's working on some numbers for us, so. And I had someone else looking at it, so I told him that we're under a gun to get it moving quick, so I need some numbers, make a decision. EDC last night talked about they would like to see it move somewhere else besides over by the Civic Center. So,
Let's talk about that a minute. Has the council approved where it was going on Page Street? Everybody I asked that says they don't remember that being voted on. Danny said he didn't remember it being over on Beach Street.
We never came to a conclusion what location, but then afterwards, I don't recall a vote to say that it was gonna go to the Civic Center area. It was just said.
So we got an architect that we're paying to do a site plan, and yet nobody's. My question is we should make a decision quickly where we want to put it, and then we move it. Now, there's been
Well,
talk
the
about
school
moving
would
it
talk about the
twice.
thing, Fred, that's a whole different thing about it. The school would like us to take that property, Campbell Close building, maybe put the big depot there, but that's just been brought up. They'd like to take some of the EDC's land.
I don't think no one knew about that.
CISD is now
He
talking
didn't
to
know.
us about taking over the building.
that just came up. That was mentioned last night, just been,
It's a good thing we have these meetings so we can hear this, because you know, when I was on EDC, I was trying my best to get that building. We had a guy, we were trying to get a Lone Star College in here. So it's good they're talking to us. Let's hope that that moves in that direction.
Yeah, they want to tear the building down.
Yeah, they won't tear it down.
Through this.
The school does.
they want to demo the building. That's what they're talking about, demoing that building.
Why did they buy the building in the first place? Architect told them to buy it. And why did they not go through with it? Architect told them it would cost too much.
Fred, we don't know
I
more.
know, I know.
But they have mentioned, just to mention, that they would trade that property. We could put the depot there, next to the old city hall.
That's where the railroad track goes to too.
And then, but they've got, EDC's got some land that they might like to have, we'd be trading.
And which land would that be?
Property we have out on 1010.
Right.
Kelly actually just mentioned that last night.
I mean, it's not, this is nothing that's not.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know.
It-
How much did they actually say they were gonna charge to move the other builder that you talked to? Last week, month or so, 120
yes.
to move that building. Now, we're talking about from where it is to this, we were talking about at the park. I mean, next to the civic center.
Peach Street, yeah.
Yeah.
Who quoted you 120? Who did you say,
It was.
Robert? I thought we had gotten a bid from Faulkner before for $40,000.
He said around about 50 when
Well,
he,
that's better than
when
120.
he looked at it.
But we don't know, Carol, until we get this,
But
he
Till
said,
we
he,
know where
until we
we're
get
going.
the bids, get all the numbers, I'd rather hold that until we get the numbers.
I'd like to ask a question, has anybody in city council been in that building?
I have.
Which
Now,
I-
which one bid
Which
He's
building?
talking about the railroad depot.
The
The
depot.
depot?
Yeah, we've been in.
The back part of that building is nothing but a feed or warehouse for
It's
hay.
basically a warehouse with sliding doors.
Yeah.
I mean, the type of doors they got in there are very much antique, they're neat.
Yeah, that's not my point. My point is this, what are we going to do with the building once we move it? Do we have a design?
Well, that's
what
BRW.
That's what we're trying to find out. I understand the
We do
RW was
have-
given
we do
that
have a
as part of the project.
What now?
We do have a
We do
design.
have a design.
I'd like to see that design because I don't think we need that whole building.
Well, Eddie, they're gonna have to break it there anyway to move it.
I know it.
So it would be, if we don't need it, that simplifies it.
But it's gonna cost us less. The rest of it we can dispose of. Or sell it.
It's just some decisions that we gotta make.
Well, the thing about BRW though,
What?
if they do the deal, we're gonna probably end up spending a small fortune on the building.
We're spending a small fortune now on the antique building.
And has the design,
A bigger fortune for BRW though.
has the design of the RW, has it brought to the cities, anybody seen it?
Yes, they had
Yeah,
some preliminary designs on
But
that.
has anybody approved it?
No,
We
it's
did-
too, we haven't even moved it, Fred, it was too early, we talked about it.
That's the outside. What's the inside for?
We don't have a coverage
No, we
yet.
don't.
It's
We don't have
sort of
it.
like the building, if we put it to
It's
park.
really neat on the
More,
inside, but we don't
neat.
know what we're gonna do with
It's
it.
sort of full of walls. Or was.
Well,
Not now.
bees and stuff.
It's bees, but they're gone.
And if we could have had that downtown, that would have been perfect.
Looks like the house
Well,
on Dr. Kelly Street.
We thought that we would let it downtown. Well, they don't make-
Well,
We haven't really said, we gotta get it somewhere, we gotta get it somewhere soon.
what?
Well, of course, the school deal throw a little wrinkle into it. But we don't know any of it.
That's what we talked about before.
Mayor, may I say this?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned about the camel building, and I don't know how confidential this is, but I think this is something we might want to look into and talk about, because I'm gonna go ahead and say it. My understanding, they wanted to, it was a suggestion, just a suggestion, to swap out the property that we have on 1010 with that camera building,
Right.
because they were gonna tear the building down. So if that's the case, because of whatever asbestos or mold or whatever, if we tear that building down, or if they tear it down, whoever, and we swap for that piece, that would be a perfect location for that.
That's what I'm saying, and they say they will tear it down.
Okay, and that's good. So maybe we need to entertain with that and sort of really collaborate and see if they really want to do that. And, I mean, I don't know how costly that would be, but to move forward with that.
It'd be an easier move, that's for sure,
It's
than trying to get down Peach Street.
Yeah, because there you can do anything with it. I mean.
but this is, early in the game, I mean, we don't know that their board would agree with that.
Well,
The whole
we
thing,
might
they
need to
put that
just
as a possibility.
sit up a meeting and discuss it and see what we can do.
Right.
Just move with it. Just don't keep talking about it. Move with it.
It's worth talking about, but it was just mentioned
Yeah.
last night. So,
The land on 1010, we got 13 acres there.
yes, sir.
And we just added 3 to the original 10.
Right, we had 10, then we bought 3.
So what was the intent to use that property for?
Well, the 10 was bought many
Years ago.
probably 12 years ago, or longer.
Did the EDC buy?
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought.
When they bought the airport property.
It would be for somebody developing. The school would like to have, or at least they're showing interest to swap camels for it. And I don't know if that means we can swap 10 acres.
I started to say, no, we're gonna
No,
get 13
no.
acres for a block.
No,
Not
10 acres.
It's right there on Rice Street.
I know where it's at.
Is that tell you?
I know exactly where it's
tell you,
I'm asking you a question.
I'm gonna tell you though, if the school would tear that building down and what property they have over here, and I had that 13 acres, I'd swap it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I've heard.
I mean, I wouldn't hesitate. I'd be starting paperwork so fast.
Who's
Then
the,
let's do it.
who's the
The
principal,
value is worth,
who's the principal person we need to talk to?
well, it was just mentioned last night, so I mean, that now we gotta find out for certain.
Okay.
Because last night, it was mentioned here, then mentioned to him,
Kelly mentioned it today.
so.
Okay, so if it was discussed, somebody has been talking about it. So you need to get with her to see if they really want to do this.
I do
And
know
go
they
ahead
want to
and-
tear the building down because they had me get in touch with a contractor for them to go over and look at the building. And they were, and I even met with Mr. McCandless, Mr. Carter, the contractor, and they were trying to decide if that's what they wanted to do. They were just weighing out their options.
Or we just need to get with them and
Right,
nail it down.
right, that, I understand.
So can we go ahead and just maybe appoint some people to contact
Let's
the
just
person?
make a
we
phone
need?
call, what it's gonna be, you know, that was gonna be done anyway, find out, bids was mentioned, what you wanna do with it.
Okay.
It's worth doing.
I mean, does the council think it's worth
Absolutely.
Yes,
I mean,
it
it'd be
is.
next to the
Absolutely.
museum or our old city hall. It's close to downtown,
Yeah.
if you have functions downtown.
Because we had talked about that before the school bought that property, we had talked about that, and the lot across the street from that the Campbells own, or the
Yeah.
Campbell granddaughter owns. So, yeah, that'd be a good deal. So try to nail that down, Robert, if you can.
Yeah, tomorrow, bro.
Yeah, or this afternoon.
This afternoon.
This afternoon would be better.
Get on that?
Yeah. Well, you know, and guys, when BRW gets on to it, we're probably gonna have to vote a bond, build money to redo it and make it viable. I mean, they spend so much, we have spent so much money with them.
Well, we are looking to find another person to do that as well.
Let's go back to their image, their sketch up here. That looks nice. I don't like the color, but it looks nice. That would fit no matter where you put it.
Yeah.
I mean, that design, so that part that we paid for, we hadn't totally lost. You just got to fit that on a site plan, wherever that might be.
But we still have to find a use for the inside of the building, a use for the building
Well,
itself.
But we got somebody pushing us to get off of the
Well, it'd
land.
be for
Well,
getting
once we
together
get it
and
located,
things, sort of like the
that's true.
pavilion was gonna be a,
And
you
it'll
know,
work.
we were talking about doing the pavilion where the old senior citizens is,
Right. yeah.
which that's gonna have to be put on the back burner unless we decide to go out for bonds on all this, because
And,
if we're building an evidence building that costs 600 and how much, Leslie?
Almost 700,000.
That looks like $2 million to me, from BRW. But
That's,
that's what Ben
I'm thinking,
I'm just saying.
I think it's gonna be 500,000 easy.
600,000 for the police evidence, and then 150 for the,
generator, yeah. But that looks.
do we not already have the money for the generator? Did
Yeah,
Bobby set that
yeah, we
aside
have it
already?
outside.
Yeah.
That's what it
Um,
Okay.
Let's talk about the site for that a little bit more. You know, when we first started this thing, we started looking all over town for a site for it. And we looked at Steve Hanson's property that's across from the old fire station. That's another piece we looked at. That came in almost $60,000 for that piece. And then that's when, there was too much money. But
And it
so-
wasn't big enough.
And it's not,
It's not big enough.
but that site came into
but
play.
it works for Ashley.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
But,
Yeah, very well.
but then move it over by the Civic Center and was gonna move it in the property that was bought from James Franklin. But you gotta clear that property, you gotta do, cover the ditch up, put in a drain pipe in there, and then you gotta clear the property. BRW said build a slab to put it on. But I have a question. about in between Bulldog Timber's office and the Civic Center, we got that spot that's already cleared off.
We don't wanna use that in case we need it for parking.
I mean, well,
Later.
later, but you could use that other for later. Right now, we need to move the depot, and that land's clear. Not just a mine thought, just a mine thought.
I still say though, that this right over Campbell would be the,
Oh,
right
perfect.
now.
That's
I
a
don't know if I
perfect-
talked to
perfect
some of the
spot.
people.
Until we get that nailed down to make sure that that's doable, it's really gonna happen.
Okay, so you're gonna go ahead and find out, so that we
See
can go
what,
ahead.
how much they're really interested in it. Let them do that demolishing.
Yeah.
You betcha.
Let them,
We don't get that. That's
and then decide how much of that depot. Because see, I can't tell, that doesn't tell us much, you know, I'm sure that's just part of that front, not talking about the back part. Did you say you move it all in one piece? Rob?
One contractor can, yes, sir. They'll move it all in one piece. And then, but it can be moved either way, whether you cut it in half, I mean, it can be done. Now, Mr. Faulkner, he'll have to cut it in half, that's the only way he can do it. The other guy can move it all in one piece.
But it was cut in half when it moved where it is now.
Yeah,
It was cut in half when it moved to where it is now.
and we may could do away with it. Like Eddie said, a lot of it, not have to move the whole thing, I don't know. I just know we need to get it moved because Mr. Howell wants it off his property. He has a very good reason to be off his property because we bought it, what, 2 years ago there?
Right.
I want to take back what I said. That's an attractive building. It doesn't look like a rail train depot.
You just have to use your imagination.
Your imagination or my imagination?
Thank you,
I can put a train on
President.
the side of that building, you look at yeah, a couple of Santa Fe signs and a railroad crossing, and you'll be fine.
All right, y'all ready to move on?
Yes.
Wait on you,
yes,
Robert.
yes.
All right. Police advocate surrender. I'm gonna, Fred, could you give me a report on that?
Report on it. We got a source report from, I don't remember the name, I didn't bring it with me.
All right, we
They
got a
showed that they did two
report.
borings. And the boring location where they did it was right there where the dirt was piled up. I guess that's when they trenched out the canal, they piled it up there. And that's where they did the borings. So 450 that is naturally just stuff that come out of the canal. So you can get that out of the way. Again, we talked about across the street. You build it up with select fill, 3-4 feet. And we've also discussed different types of slabs. They're showing a pier and beam slab, where you have to drill piers. And another type of slab would be known as a waffle slab. You build it so strong that it floats on top of dirt, whatever you do underneath it. The dirt moves, it will still stay intact. There again, the only thing to do is look at your costs and see which one's the most, not say cheaper, but the most economical for us.
And that's with, right now, that's in, here we go again, BRW.
Have we got a sketch on that site plan yet?
Chief, do we have a sketch on that plan, on that evidence bill?
Yes, sir, they do. They were supposed to send, try to give us a number for the upcoming budget, but they wasn't sure about what type of slab. That's the only thing, geotech. Engineering, from Gessner Engineering is the only thing, that's in question. But there is a sketch. We are going to be at that. We have already got grants.
I guess Fred will have to call BMW or whatever their initials are.
Ray Hopfield?
Yeah, find out.
Y'all don't
We're
be
gonna
calling Ray.
move on with that one.
Y'all don't be calling Ray. That's the architect that tried to sell a contractor that was third bidder. That was gonna cost this city $300,000. And you never even discussed the second bidder. So no, you don't be calling and talking to him.
Better you than me.
You know how
it if he was given this project back in December, because Bobby left in January, is that right? So here it is, the July, 7 months, and we ought to have something more than what we're getting. Now, maybe, I'd like to see where he's planning on setting it in relation to the police station and the courthouse, and where's the parking, where's he planning on the main door? I'm sure we're gonna build this that you could put a piece of equipment like an automobile inside, like a garage door. First started talking about a metal building, now we're talking about, and this engineering put, poured over that, they was talking about a metal building. So.
Chief, do you have any of those site plans for that building in relationship to the police station?
Yes, it's going to be directly behind the building where the Mall of Dirt is located.
Okay.
Due to the helipad being to the north of it, it would have to be more toward that ditch somewhat, would you say, probably 20, 30 feet ditch area. And it will have a garage door that opens from the drive that goes around the back of the building. That's the front.
I think we just need to know right now where we are with BRW, how much we're into it with BRW.
Right.
I think we need to have a meeting, or you need to have a meeting with them all.
Right.
Anybody wants to, we need to know where we're at right now.
So nobody has a visual plan, a copy of anything?
He does.
You have.
You already have a plan, it's going to send it to that site.
Okay, so the council needs to see that plan, we need to see that plan. So how do we get that?
He's gonna set up a meeting with BRW.
Yeah, we need to meet with BRW. Don't
I
have
can
it
send you
on.
a preliminary copy of what we have.
The courtroom security, I think that's been completed, hasn't it, there? The courtroom security.
I think it's complete, yes, it's all.
What I have completed.
See, we've got the pavilion, we talked about, now that's still BRW, we
Yeah.
can discuss that with them too.
Well, and from knowing what I know about this, when the Stancil, and they, back when Bobby was meeting with them, Stancil and the depot was looped in together, which it says right there, So
Right.
that's all under, so we got a couple reasons to meet with BRW. It is the Stancil, the depot, and everything.
Can I back up?
And Mayor, can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
In reference to this pavilion, Stansel Pavilion, I understand that there has been some changes in design that we was not even aware of. Because I do recall, I recall discussing this plan, and it had doors that would be able to,
Sort of open.
so now I understand it would not. So this is a good reason to have this meeting, so we will know. But another thing I wanted to mention, that if we don't do this Stansel Pavilion thing, we want to look at the building, the log cabin with Ashley and Cody. People still renting that building, and it's actually paying for itself. But the floors are in really bad condition, but they're still renting, so we're still getting revenues for that. And I just think we need to upgrade that. And I think Ashley has gotten quotes of flooring. And Mr. Terrell also went, and I think that would be a good idea to sort of maybe put this Stansel Pavilion on hold and go forward.
I think the number one item in that would be to get rid of that old building. It's dilapidated.
The old senior citizen.
The old senior citizen building.
Right.
That's where
Yes.
the plan to put the pavilion, but we need to get rid of it.
Yes.
It looks bad. It's just,
Yes,
it's an
sir.
eyesore, and when we talk about eyesores for people, but our own, we need to get it moved out of there.
Yes.
Demolished.
Talking about the old cities,
The
the
old-
old senior citizens.
Senior citizen, we need to get it
I want
moved
to ask you
out.
about that. Is that something our guys can tear down with that grapple, that claw or whatever piece of equipment we have? Is that something they can
Robert,
tear down?
can y'all tear that building down?
Which one?
The old senior citizen building?
Give me the equipment? Sure.
They can do it. They can do it.
Sean, you didn't have to.
hiring these,
I mean, we tore down the building before when I was just a worker here.
That's plenty of bucket to go over there and shove
But we
it.
said that on the old fire station too, we ended up having to pay somebody to do that, right?
I mean, we tore down the old police station.
The fire station was about to fall down.
Yeah, you did. We're not
Hey,
What were we gonna ask y'all?
well, I was gonna say, are we done with?
We're gonna ask Sean about
Well-
the schedule and the extra change order.
They had a change order, Sean, I think for $8,000 dollars on the station. What was that for? Can you tell us?
I'd have to go back and look to see what it was. I don't remember what it was exactly.
I don't-
But that's the first draw we had out of our contingency since we started the project. It was an item that came in higher than what it was originally.
But you don't remember what?
I don't remember exactly what it was
Okay.
for.
Mayor, I just sent an email to ERW about that, to refresh our memory on the change order.
On,
What you're asking tonight.
yes, yeah.
As soon as they reply, I'll let y'all know.
What did we have, or, what on the pavilion, what did we put in that last month?
325,000 that was budgeted, but it's gonna come in at more, so we're
Oh,
gonna
I
have
know.
to budget 355, that I don't even know where it's gonna come out. It can't come, it's not gonna come out of the hotel, there's no way.
Well, I think right now, probably we need to spend more on that log cabin, do what we need to do in log cabin, and get rid of the pavilion, then decide if we
Yeah,
want to go with BRW or
Because
somebody else.
the project was supposed to be the police evidence room, the pavilion, and the depot all
Yeah.
bid out together, that way it can come in at a less amount. But the depot was gonna be done in phases, we weren't gonna do it all at once. But we only budgeted 100,000, and it's not even enough to move it,
I know
or even to clear the
I
land over
understand.
there.
Can we ask Ashley to give us an update on what she's got? She was getting some numbers for the old log cabin. Ashley, do you have some?
I've met with A1 Carpet, and right now, they haven't officially given me the quote on paper, but when I met with her, we're looking at about 15,000 just for the floor. I had Alamo Flooring, which is a new company here in town that also does flooring, cabinetry, and things like that. They came out on Monday and looked at the flooring and did measurements and everything like that. I'm waiting on a quote from him. He told me that what we're looking at A1 Carpet for the vinyl planking is running about $3, so about $2 cheaper than what it is at A1 Carpet. And I just called Jason Clemens, who Clay Dean gave us that contact. It's called Clemens Flooring. Actually, Clay sold it to him when he was doing flooring, and he's supposed to be out this week. He was supposed to come today, but I think he didn't show up, so we'll see. But I did leave him a message.
As Marilyn and I and Ashley and Cody looked at it, it's 42 by 60, it's about 2,600 square feet.
Correct.
And we were estimating around $4 a square foot for the flooring. That would leave enough money to redo the restrooms, new fixtures there, and some paint. But anyway, total was around 15,000.
From A1 Carpet.
Oh,
Alamo.
they wanted that much just for the flooring?
Oh, yeah. And when he looked at it, he was saying how the floor kind of has some weight going on to it. We asked him about our wet areas, as far as the kitchen and the bathroom. The bathroom has that drain that's there. He was saying that he would recommend putting towel in there versus
You
the
mean a sunset?
vinyl planking, but Alamo said that they could build that drain up, float the carpet up, or the vinyl up under there, and you could have it all the way through. He was even willing to throw in doing the stage as well, so it looked uniform. So I'm just waiting on him to give us that quote. And they did drop off 2 samples today at the Civic Center, so.
And I think that would be worth looking into and moving forward with, because I think it would pay for itself.
It already pays for itself. Even if I had another log cabin, it would pay for itself. Log cabin is one of our money makers. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And now we're starting to get more rentals during the week with, trainings and different things like that. So I definitely believe that whatever we do, even if it's updating fixtures, new paint or whatever, it will definitely be a turnaround and pay for itself.
Is the log cabin booked for this, pretty much the rest of this year?
Yes, sir. I have a few dates maybe in between, but pretty much every Saturday is rented out. Actually, Friday, Saturday, and
So it's
Sunday.
mostly weekend, so if work is
It's our
done, it'd be
weekends.
done during the week,
Yes, sir.
and wouldn't interfere with that.
Yes, sir.
Can the council make a motion and do anything about it at this meeting? Mayor?
Not at this
Not at this time?
No.
I think we need to get all the
But we can,
numbers.
We can put it on the agenda, the next one.
I like to see it happen pretty quick.
Amen.
We can talk things to death.
So once we get the numbers, we have it put on the agenda and we move forward with that. That would be my recommendation.
Good.
Thank you. I'll take care of it.
I'd like to back up to number 10 just for a second.
Number 10.
Yeah, courtroom security, and this is Bobby's notes, it says currently 28,000 is reserved and restricted for court security. Can somebody explain that? Is it something that's already been spent, or do we have that?
No, we still have those funds, and it's actually more than that, it's like 34,000.
Okay, that's good to know.
Which they're wanting to use that money to buy, for budget workshop, but they're wanting to use that money to buy, a vehicle for the warrant officer.
I'm sorry, can you say that again? I can't
Is that
hear
a
you.
microphone?
Yeah. We actually have 34,000 in that account, and they're wanting to use money from there to purchase a vehicle for the warrant officer, because it can only be used for certain things.
But we haven't approved it yet.
No, it's not approved.
Now, the car's not approved, but this money is, it's
Right.
approved.
Yes.
It's in reserve.
Yeah, it's in reserve.
Okay.
Round number 11.
the statute could be, well, it's airport sign, right? You already said it.
Airport sign, I've kind of commented about it a while ago, we was talking about airport.
The sidewalk phase 2, we're supposed to start it next month, right?
Yesterday.
Yeah, they were supposed to start it, the 25th, and they hadn't showed up, so I called the contractor, to see where they were. He said, it looks like it's gonna be, he'll know more, and next day, so I called him today, actually. He said he's hung up on trying to finish another project, he said, so it might be the second week in August before he starts. And that's KSA, the engineer, and Greenscale, the contractor.
Mayor, is there a way we can start putting penalties on people that don't start projects on time?
Well, I'm sure that it's in the
I
contract.
think there's a penalty on this, $400 a day after, I think it's 180 days.
After they get.
Sometime in January, it's $400
There's
a
something
day.
in it there already that,
Okay, thank you.
I mean, it gets crazy.
Uh, 14, police generator.
What we waiting to do, the,
Yeah, we're waiting to do the evidence room to be able to support both places.
This is big enough to support the police,
Well, that's what they're trying
the
to,
court, as well as the evidence room?
that's what they're trying to figure out. If it's gonna be, they're gonna be able to support both of the police and the evidence room, right, Chief?
It was supposedly gonna be for the EOC, for the courtroom, and the entire building, that is 11,000 square foot building now. They were looking at the engineering about whether to support the evidence building.
But as far as the generator, once they decide what size generator they need, it can go ahead and be put there. And then when the evidence building is built, you add that trunk
that's the look right
For
now.
electric, for the old, yeah.
Chief, you don't have a generator now?
There is a generator there now that's 22 years old, and this does not run the entire building. It runs the communications and part of the police building.
Okay, okay.
And it only budgeted, I think, around 150,000. I wonder what that generator is going to be, but it's definitely much more than that.
Can we get Energy to look at that and tell us what size KW we need to get on that line?
I thought they'd already covered.
Had that?
They need to look at a project that Energy had for government aid buildings, and that did not, we
didn't qualify, that's what I was afraid of.
But they pretty much have calculated with the new one that they budgeted another couple $100,000 for, that should be sufficient for the building. What was the cost, I think, did they up the cost?
Strand engineering, KW.
Do what?
Strand engineering here in their notes says they're talking about the generator being 100 KW.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's what Bobby had said, they were gonna put a couple extra hundred, because $150,000 generator is nowhere to be found in reserve.
He found one for 150,000, and we okayed for him to go get it, but he didn't go get it.
Okay.
That's how that went.
I'd suggest call Strand and ask them, if they, I guess we'd be going to square footage of the evidence building and that, he should be able to tell us if this would be big enough, 100 KW. Because it mentions Strand being the engineer.
Yeah, it says Strand, it says approximately $100,000 for a 100 KW natural gas generator.
I'd like to know how they figured that, because it depends on what you put in there to pull that wattage. And maybe it wouldn't cost much more to have one that would give us capability of adding things to it. In other words, I don't want to buy a generator and this is all that it'll do. I'm stuck if we add anything else over to that property. So I guess I'll have to call. That's Strand, right?
Well, they'll probably add another $100,000 to that evidence building.
Probably a couple of dollars for me calling them too.
I think we already did some type of test and realized that,
Well, and Strand Engineers is the ones that recommended the 100 KW.
yes, right. They were
What are we putting in the station, Sean? What kind of generators it got? Do you know?
I think it's the 150.
Is that a natural gas?
Okay, Campbell Park.
Down Campbell Park, I don't have any updates on this one myself at all, so. I know we talked about walking, we did a splash pad, and then it has playground equipment out there. As far as where we are, what more we're gonna do, I know we talked about last night, did you see about doing as much as we can about walking trails.
It starts off talking about a budget of $100,000. Is that in our budget?
Okay, I know. And we definitely need to find that out, because we were talking about what we could do. Do you know where that's at? I mean,
Yes, we budgeted 160,000. We've used, to finish up the splash pad, it was $8,000 that we still needed to pay for that. And then we went ahead and bought new benches whenever we were doing that, project for the MIT program. And we spent around 13,000. But I know that whenever the cemetery got approved for mowing, that's where that money was gonna come from.
From the park?
Yes.
Campbell Park improvements.
Yes.
So why?
Because we didn't budget for it. We didn't budget for the mowing, so the money had to come from somewhere, and that's where it's coming from.
So right now, it says we spent $87,442.
Yeah, and that's why, because I deducted the contract amount for the 6 months.
This is outsourced, right?
Yes.
That's not good.
So I think we're spending, what, $7,000 more a month?
4,000
On
for the cemetery.
And it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it.
It's a bad habit.
And because we were focusing, we have to give the people something. I mean, you got supposed to be a splash pad, which actually is a slap in the face because you didn't even utilize the entire pool area. So even if you was not going to utilize the entire pool area, it needs to be some type of play equipment for the kids. That's why we're doing that.
There's still 72,000, almost 73,000 in there for that.
Well, we put new tables and stuff, didn't we, place it out there around the pool? I mean,
Yeah.
pool with the splash pad.
Anytime we outsource it, whether it's a buyback program or whatever, you're gonna spend a lot of money for the convenience that you're doing it. You don't have to do with drawings, you don't have to do with engineer. And so we do this. Same thing at the ballpark, we put those 2 little restrooms by the T-ball. And what it cost us, you wouldn't believe by the square foot what we paid for that. And when we do that, it is convenient, but yet it does cost us more than if you go out to bid.
Well, I think the big problem with that on this, for instance, has been hire people to take the positions, is when they actually went to, out doing out the part of the cemetery. That's something I think we can look at in the budget, though.
I thought there was a comment made that there was some money left over from the Campbell Park project.
Yes, there's 72.
Okay.
72,000.
Because we were talking possibly we could do this log cabin at 15,000 could come from there.
Yes, and that's another thing, that if y'all approve this stencil, it's gonna come out of that money. You're digging into your Campbell, or, it was set for Campbell Park, but it's not specifically for it. We can do other things with it.
You
But
can use
just
it
saying,
We could use it on.
yeah, you can use it for Stencil Park to renovate the floors and bring the revenue.
What are we at now, Robert?
Northside Boulevard,
We never have got Mr.
Felix Blue now. Last time I talked to Felix, and I did discuss this Friday, because I had a meeting with some of it did with Cleveland ISD about their new administration officer going to do. And we were talking about setting a meeting up real soon with Felix to see what we can do. And because they're going to go out for another bond, they said maybe they might can help a little more. That project got estimated about $1 million, and then it went to $10 million. We were talking.
Wait a minute, Robert. They basically was, the boulevard is in 4 parts. They asked EDC to do 1/4 of that, so there's $1 million. So they were talking maybe $4 to $5 million. Then we found out it's in the floodplain. Now go ahead, that's when it jumped to.
Then when it jumped to $10 million. And then Felix Lou, EDC paid to survey a center line for the boulevard. And we were going to do a 2-lane.
The original plan calls for it to be a boulevard, which means 2 lanes going out and 2 lanes coming in,
Yes, sir.
with a green belt in the middle.
Right. Well, then the last thing after we did all that, Felix talked with Mr. Frank Lynn, And they came back saying, no, we don't want that, we want a 6-lane. And we want utilities in it. That way, we're prepared, we've got utilities for our developers. I said, we can't do that. Your developer pays for all that. He said, well, no, we really want to do this in the 6-lane. So, anyway.
Robert, we own that road.
No, sir.
Why don't
We
we
don't-
put money in?
We don't own it.
The city owns their part of the road.
And the city needs to back out.
All
Thank
we,
you very much.
Mr. Lowry, we pay, EDC paid for, the school owns a portion of the road, and then from where the school ends on out to 59 in Washington, EDC paid a survey to do the center line.
What they negotiate with the school and with Mr. Felix and so forth, I'm sorry, we don't have any business with it. It's not in the city, it's not ours, we have no reason to put money into that. That's my opinion.
Well, I think we need to get the land, if we can get the land, Mr. Fu, we've been trying to get the land for 6 months or so, or a year. We need to get him the road, he was gonna give us the.
See, he dedicated the right of way of the road
For
He
a
did
4-lane.
it to the city or to the school?
to the city.
He was gonna give it to the city. We need to.
EDC paid $12,000 to get the survey, boundary survey and center line.
So we'll then own the road.
Now, it ain't gonna work for EDC, they can't go across and supply this if they don't dedicate that. And then, what do you call it, when they voluntarily annex that property to the city, so that the money we spend will be coming to the city on a tax basis.
Well, I said the same thing, Eddie, I told him, when it got to be it'll probably 11 million, that's gotta be county and that's gotta be state, or representative, it's in the city, the road will be in the city.
And here's another
And
thing.
it's gonna front private property so they can sell that property for whatever.
Well,
Well, that's why we're not gonna pay for his utilities.
that's why EDC paid for the center line survey, because if they want to donate that, I mean, that would kind of help bring in more commercial business and development, et cetera. But here's one other thing, that right when you become, before you get off Frank Lynch property, or you get on the feeder road there at, Washington,
Right.
there's 3 undivided interests on about 3 lots there. They want $600K for theirs. So that's another $600,000 for those pieces. It turned out to be,
We can get ourselves in that, can't we?
but I'm with the mayor though. If they'll donate that, we need to hang on to it if we can get it.
Right.
Don't give up on that yet, I'm not. That needs to become a TxDOT road. I, met in Austin with, our state rep and our senator and the 2 people that's head of TxDOT at the Capitol.
Right.
And I even told them, why are we building your road, come see road? We're moving your traffic in that boardroom. I said, here, we're trying to move your traffic.
And you're not going to pay.
And they said, well, we'll loan you money. They said, we'll loan you money to build this road. But here's what's gonna happen. They don't think they need the road today, but I'm gonna grant you, when that school opens,
They sure do need
the TxDOT's gonna be saying, whoa, we gotta do something, we got a problem.
Well, why don't we put up a sign so everybody that comes in there can read it and have a phone number on there to the senator or whoever, and then they can make those phone calls themselves.
Also,
The road makes sense, it just doesn't, we can't, it's not gonna be our responsibility. When it was $1 million, we could look at it.
Right.
it's also been discussed that you can take that down to property by eminent domain.
Yeah.
And then was it the school said that they would think they would have a better shot at telling them.
Yeah, the school said they could probably do it easier than we could.
Right.
And do we want the school's engineer getting involved in getting this?
Well, they are involved already.
They're involved.
I'm talking about this getting this thing dedicated, this right away there.
They're involved, and they're gonna be in our meeting here that we were talking the other day, as of Friday, when I met with Cleveland High School about administration on it.
But all this is useless talking until Frank or Mr. Food signs that land to the city. We can talk it all day long, but until he actually signs his name, it doesn't make a bit of difference in the world. And he keeps moving that goalpost. like Robert said, he wanted the utilities, he wants a bigger, we can't keep moving that goalpost.
Now,
Put his name on that sign also,
well,
Says put, well.
contact your local land.
and I'll add another thing, and I think some of y'all are already well aware of this. Probably about 3 weeks ago, maybe, or if it's less, Felix had some signs on 2025 right past the school road. There's a sign sitting right there, and then he put another one right around the curve. 5 to 50 acre lots. I called Ash Felix, I said, Felix, how much you want for this? He said, oh, I think it's worth $100,000 an acre. I said, okay. So,
Well, they're the ones that gonna make, he's gonna make money.
Right.
We would benefit the road, and then anybody that wants to build on that end of town, it's gonna open that whole end of town up.
but
But until Frank, until he signs that,
until we get this road, in the city's hands, yeah.
$2.30.
he has agreed, well,
I gotta pay $1 million for it.
That's like the school property. Until. Okay,
Fred, we ought to get the school to put it on their bond.
that's what I said the other day, that's what I told them. We need to, y'all figure go out to this little bond, some of that money needs to come from there. Then we'll go back, I told them, I said, you do that, we'll go back off.
Well, they're so far behind right now in building it, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just wait 6 months and renew this conversation.
Okay,
Right now, it's
So-
worthless.
where we at?
Well, if food signs off on it, then we can bring it, we can talk
Yeah, but
about it
that's-
some more.
That's
But
gonna
we
be,
need to get, Nichols and everybody involved, and Tech Dot really, because they're the ones that can spend the big bucks. It's gonna help them.
And what we need to do, I mean, with them as well.
If Bales has to sit at that 2025 red light for about an hour, then they'll probably get our money to us.
He'll fly over.
that's what I'm saying. We're gonna furnish him with a car at the airport, he'll fly over it, we haven't seen
I'm gonna
that.
say he'll fly over. He will.
Maybe it'll be Nichols or somebody else that's on that.
Got a question for you. Is that section of 59, is that by the Lufkin TxDOT office or Beaumont?
That's Depcog. If you go out 59 north, right around where what was that, the Heinz Motel out there somewhere?
That's where they.
I mean, you know where, as soon as you go over the north end of Washington, that flyover, and then it kind of necks back down. From there though, it's Depcog out of Lufkin.
So you're saying we're on the border between those two TxDOT districts?
Yeah.
And what,
Well, he said we'd
neither
be-
one of them are touching?
He told us so that we'd be under the,
HGAC.
We're under it.
The one today?
We're under it, I mean, HGAC comes all the way out of Houston up to that point right there near Depcog. And they're both, Depcog and HGAC, they're both through the tie-in at that north end.
Or they'll both back away and say, you do it, wait on the other.
Yeah.
I've been on HGAC, I know about that.
well, we really have
Well-
to push it, Eddie, so we can actually get Mr. Fu to say he's gonna
Yeah.
do that. It's useless to go, you can't go
Well,
to
I agree,
Texas or anybody else,
Well-
he said,
I agree,
Just like TxDOT, rather be HGAC or Depcog into one.
I agree.
You know, they're turning that into an interstate, but they're gonna come up to the south end of town. They're gonna stop there and they're gonna jump over to that north end. That's gonna stay just like it is for how many, who knows, 20 years. That bridge is on the books now for 2035 with TxDOT and HGAC for 2035 and 2025 bridge. But I think that'll get moved. Once that traffic starts, I'm looking at pressure.
It's on 2045,
Right.
2045. The HGAC TxDOT meeting that we had at the Civic Center,
Yeah,
it's listed for 2045.
Yep, they moved to 2035.
Okay, maybe, hopefully
Yeah,
everything moved,
they
they
moved it up because of all that, they moved it up 10 years.
said when they did the red lights, it was gonna up the intersection to a C. It's an F right now, when they did the red lights, to make it a C. I told them putting the red lights in was gonna keep it in F,
It is.
Right.
It is.
and brought up the north side deal while TxDOT and HGAC were both there at the meeting at the Civic Center, and they put it on the map and said that they were gonna try to put it in their discussions.
With that meeting at Civic Center, at that time, it wasn't on the radar.
Uh,
Then they had a meeting, and then we had a meeting over at the, it was a chamber meeting over at the church. That was the last I heard. Then the priorities, that spot had gone up to number one on the priority list.
Hey, Sean, I will say one thing. When it does happen, you and Robert Meadows, y'all be here, but I don't think none of us will. Except, well, Ed may be here.
That's right, that's right, gonna be here.
Well, she will be. I'm talking about, yeah. Yeah, she'll be here with y'all. So,
We got this, don't we, Deb? We got this.
Richard, let's put up another billboard on the corner there and then put H there.
Well, I think we just need to call it Nichols
any
Avenue
more,
or.
any more comments or questions on these?
I'll call Mr. Nichols.
I talked to Nichols the other day.
I'm gonna call.
He never looked at it, never even read it. So. And he had a lot to do with that. highway.
Yes, sir. Okay, you want to talk about BNSF?
Yeah, what's our involvement in the water well?
Well, okay. You know, BNSF, they have selected a contractor. They were going to, matter of fact, I talked to Miss Kreger this morning. They selected a contractor. They're going to be moving on site mid-August, start construction on that site. Now, the water, this is going back to water and the sewer was going to be about 15 to 17 million dollars. They came to the city and EDC to see if we would partner with them in some of that. Our part, our part, if the city, EDC, was going to be like $1 million for EDC and $2 million for the city. Now, they're also fixing to increase all this because they're having these customers that are requiring a lot of water, so they're having to increase their wastewater to be able to supply their customers. So they're going to increase what they've done, so, but it's not going to be any cost back to the city.
It wasn't wastewater, it's their actual domestic.
Yes, sir, where, yes, sir.
They were, the one water well that we're talking about.
It'd be, yes, sir, but they're going to increase water wells, which they, that to get this wastewater volume up. Robert can explain a whole lot more about that to me. But they got to get this volume because they're afraid of what they had in there after they found these customers that was requesting this volume. They wouldn't be able to do that and take care of what we're wanting to do. And then too, what they're going to do, they're going to turn that over to the city once they get it built and be city operated.
So that's water and wastewater.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's something else for Robert to take care of.
Robert, what are we doing with that well that's having the bad stinky water? Are we just sitting on it?
Well, hopefully in August, next month, we can talk about that. We got it on there, I submitted from the last quote we got, kind of up a little bit more due to inflation, to get that aerator put in so we can actually use that well. It's just sitting there, not doing.
Was that 400,000?
I believe it was like 650 2 years ago, we got the quote. And then I had to, TCQ notified me, they wanted to know that ETA when that well was going to be put online. I was informed by city manager that since we were finishing up the other violations, the 2 water plants, or the 2 water towers that needed to be back in compliance, once we got those projects completed, we would address that issue of that well, which will be 2024. So that's what sent TCEQ.
We're clear? Have a motion that we adjourn?
Oh, you're done.
You need,
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
I make a motion we